Assassin's Creed is a 2016 action-adventure film based on the video game franchise of the same name. The story follows Callum Lynch, a convicted criminal who is a descendant of the 15th century Spanish assassin Aguilar de Nerja. I don't know. After being put on death row, Callum is freed by the mysterious Templar Order, who have been at war with the Creed for centuries. Both orders are searching for the Apple of Eden, which has the power to destroy free will. Callum is connected to a machine called the Animus, which allows him to revive and relive the memories of his assassin ancestor. The Templar Order plans to use these memories to locate the Apple of Eden. By the way, it's never referred to as an apple in Genesis. I always thought it was a pomegranate. I mean, what the fuck is a pomegranate anyway? I wonder how painful it must be to work on a film that you know is going to suck. I can understand being optimistic at the start of production, but by the time 50% of a movie like this is filmed, you must have some sort of idea of how awful the movie actually is. Assassin's Creed, by all measures, was the worst movie I have seen in 2016. It's loud, it's unfocused, it's uninspiring, and completely undeserving of its star-studded cast. The most frustrating part of this futuristic/period action mashup is the decent movie that was disregarded in favor for the modern-day pseudo-philosophical science fiction bullshit that hogs up most of the screen time. You are stuck watching two different movies with the exact same plot, except one of those movies is good and the other is horrible. Unfortunately, the horrible movie is the one you remember because 70% of the movie is set in the modern day. They would give us a glimpse of the good movie and then jump cut into the modern day setting. It's like handing someone a mozzarella stick and then telling them to spit it out mid-chew. You can't mid-chew and then spit, you have to swallow. Are we still talking about a movie? The back and forth between the action sets ruins the quality of the 15th century action set pieces, which are really impressive and original in their execution, but they keep switching to the bad stuff. Why are you switching? Yes, that's what No, I don't want to see that. Any movie, no matter what it is, can never succeed without an identity, and Assassin's Creed has no idea what it wants to be. Is it a smart, cerebral action movie, or is it a dumb popcorn action movie? The problem is that it's neither, and it turns out to be a boring piece of shit action movie. The worst kind of action movie. A movie like Assassin's Creed shouldn't attempt to answer or ponder the questions that it's asking. You answer the question of, should humanity have free will, by saying, hell no, bitch, and then proceed to kick the shit out of the bad guys. The movie is called Assassin's Creed, which means when I walk into the theater, I want to see people get assassinated. I want to see amazing action. I want to see the inner workings of the Creed, and I want to see people hopping over buildings and doing crazy parkour and jumping into haystacks. Michael Fassbender has the one funny line in the movie. He's looking around and murmurs to himself, what the fuck is going on? It's not that the movie is impossible to follow, but the plot is so dumb and the cast is taking it so serious that it almost becomes a parody of itself. There's not one lighthearted or human moment shared between any of the actors in the film. These actors are very talented. Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, Jeremy Irons, and I'm sure they took the chance on this film because they thought it could break the video game curse. And in addition, it has great source material. But the individuals who made this film decided to disregard that source material entirely, instead opting for an extremely lazy science fiction movie where all the characters have the personality of artificial robots in a role-playing video game. The interactions between the characters played by Fassbender and Cotillard are so awkward and stiff. Their dialogue is being read, not acted, and no one in the movie except Michael Kenneth Williams leaves a lasting impression. And Michael Kenneth Williams, that guy needs to get more roles, because he is just excellent in everything he's in. So overall, I would have to give Assassin's Creed a 2 out of 10. It's a flatline production with no blips, twists, or turns that you don't see coming. And when the credits finally roll, the only question you have is, will the curse ever be lifted? Well, I'm here to tell you how video game movies can be fixed. Stats, hit the button. How to fix video game movies. Number 1, stick to the source material. The biggest problem in Assassin's Creed was that they strayed away from the source material in favor of a minuscule aspect of the original game. I'm not saying that the Animus and Abstergo industries are irrelevant to the story, but they are definitely the least interesting part of the movie. You literally have 15th century Spain as your cinematic playground, and you choose to spend most of your time in the 21st century. I also think the problem is the source material itself. Number 2, get better source material. The best stories that the video game community has to offer have never been adapted to film, and it seems like every time a great game adaptation is attempted, the movie ends up in development hell, like Uncharted or The Last of Us. Listen to some of the video game movies that have been made: a live-action Super Mario Bros., Alone in the Dark, Street Fighter, Dead or Alive, Doom, Need for Speed, Prince of Persia. At this point, even the Resident Evil franchise needs to be killed. They're claiming this is the final chapter, but it seems like a Fast and Furious tactic. Try and get people in the theater for the final chapter, but it's definitely not the last one. It's basically the final movie before the reboot. All these shit video game movies are being produced year after year, but where's the BioShock movie, The Last of Us movie, Metal Gear Solid, Uncharted, Skyrim, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, the greatest game in video game history? How in the world has that movie not been made? I think one of the great things about Ocarina of Time is the character development of its main character, Link, where you start off the story as a young boy and you end it as a young man. The development of that character cannot be achieved in a movie because of the length of the game. This is the problem that many games have when they're adapted to movies. Television doesn't have that problem because if your story is good, you basically have unlimited time to develop your characters. And in 2016, what better way is there to chronicle a story of the development of an individual through adolescence to adulthood? So if you want to fix video game adaptations, well, number 3, television. How many times do you hear, oh yeah, this new game I bought has 18 hours of gameplay, 20 hours of gameplay, 24 hours of gameplay, an entire day of playing a game? By turning certain games into movies, you are trying to condense 18-hour stories into 2 hours. You just can't do it. There's a reason Hideo Kojima thinks that video games are the superior mode of storytelling in the 21st century. Because 1, you basically have unlimited time to flesh out your plot and characters, and 2, they are interactive. The viewer is actively participating in the story. These 2 basic fundamental elements of video game storytelling can only be achieved on television. With television, you have unlimited time to map out the world. Just ask Game of Thrones or Walking Dead. For years, people were trying to turn A Song of Ice and Fire into a movie. And George R.R. Martin was like, well, you're going to need like 8 10-hour long movies. And what has Game of Thrones become in 2016? 8 10-hour long movies. Most video game stories do not translate to the big screen because they're just too long, but it can translate to the small screen. Just imagine a 10-hour Last of Us miniseries. That would be incredible. Or even Metal Gear Solid or BioShock. Any of these games would make an incredible television series. Now, video games are known for having immersive and awe-inspiring physical settings, but the quality of television production has matched or surpassed Hollywood on several occasions, so you don't have to worry about your budget compromising your visual style. So I think television is the way to go for these video game adaptations. I mean, it hasn't worked so far on the big screen. You're literally 0 for 40. You're 0 for 40. When you're 0 for 40, you don't take different shots, you play a different sport. So something has to change. And I think television is the perfect outlet for these stories because they're so long, they're so detailed, and the production value of television is so close to Hollywood, if not on the same level. So this is the outlet that these stories need to be told through.